remember.
You know, we had a Stevens plant in Rock Hill.
Sure.
When it came to renew the contract, they.
Okay, now the next thing you're going to be saying is troops. So I want to get your response to this. Okay, you ready? Let's go. You're coming up next.
Oh, there's the troops. Look at that. What is he doing? Smoking a cigar or a cigarette?
That's the thing.
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought this was all on. I'm sorry. Yeah, and here's this. Just before, yeah.
Is he going backwards?
Yes.
Trying to keep him out from going in.
Fixed bayonets, Saul.
This what?
Fixed bayonets.
Yeah, I see that. Oh boy. There's the tear gas.
Tear gas.
Seems to me this documents what you've been saying about the kind of violence that you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. You know what?
Yes. Want to go just beyond that?
Yes.
People on the
where is this, Judy?
This, I believe, is in Fort Mills.
Fort Mills, okay.
You said you've never been there.
Yeah.
Horse Creek Valley.
Woman preacher.
Oh yeah.
Oh
look at
yeah.
that.
Should I stop it?
Yes.
That just looks like Sister Maccabee,
God.
who used to pray for the Union in Gaffney.
Beautiful.
Let's do that again, Don. We're going to go
All right.
back and hear a little bit more about her.
All right.
Okay, that's enough. And you notice the machine gun to your right there, Don.
All right. Yeah. Look, the
Oh
machine
yeah, look
gun.
at that, it's a machine gun. Look at that.
Well, that's what they had on the roof of the Alma Mill in Gaffney when I was there. That's what Sister Maccabee used to do in Gaffney, in front of the Gaffney Manufacturing Company whenever we had a union meeting. She would get down on the sidewalk and pray. She said, and I would quote her, I'm a union and I'll always be a union. And then she'd start praying on her knees
Beautiful.
for all of the union workers. She came to all our meetings and would always get down on her knees and pray before the union meeting began.
Beautiful.
Don, speak about this one as being anti-union.
She's an anti-unionist.
Well, that's typically what happened every time we tried to organize a plant in the South. When we confronted a labor board election, what happened is we would be inundated with jackleg preachers who would come in, and here's what they used to say. The CIO means Christ is out, communism is on. There's a machine gun again.
They're there to protect the interests of the employer, not the interests of the workers.
Do you think?
Did you have it queued up on the other tape?
Yeah, I did. So
Okay.
I'll get it.
Amazing. And
Tim, what is step to figure out?
It's amazing. All the hats and caps that were worn in those days.
sure. And the overalls.
Yeah, and the overalls. Boy, isn't that intimidation?
Fixed bayonets.
They're intimidating the workers.
Tear gas.
Oh boy.
Comment on these.
What are they standing? Are those guns there?
Those are rifles,
yeah,
all right.
But they're not policemen. What are they, detectives? Private detectives?
Looks like
Employed goons employed by the companies?
These are local citizens who've been deputized.
Yeah.
Repeat that, Don.
they're local citizens who've been deputized to serve as policemen, intimidate the workers.
Now connect that up with the uptown and the let's back this up again, because Don,
Yeah.
I want you to connect these people up with the,
George, should I start here or should I start closer to the gun?
start to there.
This is
Because
fine?
they've got a lot to say, yes.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Now here, when this get.
Yep. Okay.
Look at that, Saul. Those aren't policemen. They're people who have been deputized to serve as policemen to intimidate these workers. Probably uptown people who have no use for lint heads, but it may be some of them may actually be anti-union people working in that factory. Maybe some of the second hands and those who are so afraid of losing their jobs that they play along with the employer against the workers who are trying to get collective bargaining.
I'll bet you there were no working class people who belonged to the union that were deputized to protect the interests of the people, to make sure that they weren't harmed by them.
Sure. They don't look like they're very well trained to me. I'd be a little intimidated to see all that firepower in the hands of people who don't have much practice on how to use it. Look at that, a tear gas gun.
Yeah.
That's for firing tear gas.
Okay, I think that does it.
Okay.
And I wonder if
I never saw them.
I never saw them, but I would think that they might have been shown, but like Pathé News in those days.
Well, we know they were shown because we see we've got the cut version.
Yeah.
Flying squadron methods, National Guardsmen at Newnan, Georgia, round up a group of pickets and place them under arrest. Women as well as men are taken in the militia's net. The strikers submit peacefully and are hustled off before bristling bayonets. State highway trucks are used to transport the prisoners, numbering about 200, many of them women and girls.
State highway troops, state highway vehicles.
Specifically, those arrested are charged with attempting to prevent the reopening of the Newnan mills. Reminiscent of World War
Look at that.
How do you like that?
A bullpen.
Governor
Barbed wire.
Talmadge was acting like a fascist in those days.
Armed guards patrol the barbed wire enclosure surrounding the camp while the prisoners learn how it feels to be on the inside looking out. Chow time finds a lot of healthy appetites, and the incarcerated ladies make the best of their predicament. It's good old army grub, plain but nourishing, and the state is paying for it.
It's a shame.
That was the cut version. That was what actually went out on the newsreel.
I see.
When you
Yeah,
look at this,
they all are very happy, right?
Yeah,
when
they
you
showed
look
them
at this
get.
footage, it says something very different. See the pain and what people went through.
Sure.
And we have testimony from one of the people who was there.
Oh boy.
Saul, did you hear about this at all?
I think so, yes. We heard about that. I think this episode was carried quite dramatically throughout the country. But I'm not sure. But I have a vivid memory of it. In a vague sort of way.
Could you talk about how the media, particularly the newspapers, talked about the strike? Was it in favor of the union? Was it against the union? What was it?
I would say that the media was not sympathetic to the strikers.
In the North, you mean?
In the North. They certainly weren't in the South.
They certainly weren't in the South, Saul.
But you know, it's so long ago. I said I have a vivid memory of it. It's so long ago that I really... Look at this guy. What's he doing?
He's being arrested.
Oh, God. It's most unfortunate that the labor movement in September 1934 did not come to the aid of the strikers, as the union movement is now coming to the aid of the workers in the daily news strike.
Well, you have to remember, Saul, that the only real union movement was the AFL. It wasn't interested in the mass production industries. And as a matter of fact, along about this time, they only had about 1 million members in the whole nation in all of their AFL craft unions.
That's very true.
What do you think the overall effect of these intimidation practices were?
Well, it created fear in the hearts of the workers. No question about that. It weakened their efforts to be progressive or militant. They were afraid. They were afraid of their jobs. They were afraid of their livelihood. They were afraid for their children. And the federal government stood by and permitted this to go on. That was a terrible image of our country, to have something like this.
Well, there they are in the bullpen,
Yeah.
behind the barbed wire.
These were all members of a flying squadron from the Noonan area.
Don, can you talk about the flying squadron and the rumors of the flying squadron as you heard them later?
Well, what the flying squadrons did was to spread the strike. In other words, workers who are in strike in one community, one town, would go in Tin Lizzies and other transportation to another textile mill community where the mill was working, and they would persuade the workers to walk out and join the strike.
Do you think that was a wise technique?
Well, it was a technique which made this one of the largest strikes in the history of the United States, because it involved textile mill workers almost throughout the whole South. And the flying squadrons actually were a way of trying to persuade workers who weren't involved to join in the tremendous demonstration against low wages and the stretch out and other horrible conditions in the textile mills.
50% of the strikers were in the North, especially in the Northeast and in the Middle Atlantic states. Mostly
what about the role of the women there, Don? We're going to be rewinding it back because I want you to be talking about the role of the women there, the fact that there were so many women involved.
Now, there's a typical union member joined by another. The women played a very prominent part in union organization in the South. As a matter of fact, they were almost as numerous as men in most of the factories that I participated in winning labor board elections in. And look, Saul, what a prominent role they're playing throughout this demonstration. 34.
I'll tell you, women are beginning to play a much more major role in our society in political as well as economic action. They're becoming more prevalent in equal rights in the trade union movement.
Some of the best local union leadership I encountered consisted of women. Down at Anniston, Alabama, in the Utica knitting mills, for instance, Virginia Browning was the predominant leader of that union and was so effective that she was even put on the National Executive Board of Textile Workers Union, CIO. When we organized a couple of factories in York, South Carolina, which was near Rock Hill, the organization was almost predominantly done by women.
Okay, I think we've got it then. Thank you.
Okay.
Are those where the National Guard, the 10th National Guard
I think
tents
so,
are
yeah.